You're listening to Beyond Wellness Radio, bringing you the cutting edge in health, biohacking, and sports performance. Stay up to date and listen anywhere and anytime on your computer, tablet, or smartphone by subscribing on iTunes. Catch your host, Dr. Justin Marchegiani, as he answers your burning health questions as well as interviews from world-renowned guest experts. For more Beyond Wellness Radio, go to beyondwellnessradio.com.
Hey there, it's Dr. Justin Marchegiani. Welcome to Beyond Wellness Radio. Feel free and head over to beyondwellnessradio.com where you can access our full podcast transcriptions. While you're there, you can also sign up for our thyroid and female hormone video series. This series goes into the root cause of why your hormones are out of balance. While you're there, you can also schedule a functional medicine consult with Dr. Justin, myself, where we'll dig deeper into the root cause of your health challenges. Feel free and think of sharing this podcast with at least one person. This podcast grows by people sharing it. Sharing is caring. If you can think of one person that can benefit from this information, please feel free and share it. If you're enjoying the podcast, make sure you subscribe on iTunes. You can also click below the video or podcast where you'll see the iTunes review button and leave us a review. You can also sign up for the newsletter at beyondwellnessradio.com where you'll get updates before anyone else. Thank you so much and enjoy the show. Hey there, it's Dr. Justin Marchegiani. Today we have Dr. House in the house. Dr. Ben, how are we doing today, man?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Excellent. We got you on Skype too. So anyone listening to the MP3, feel free and click below and check out the YouTube channel as well. And Dr. House is over at functionalmedicinecostarica.com.
Yeah, that's me.
That's
where
great.
I'm at.
And you're seeing patients virtually as well, which is great. So if you feel like you jive with Dr. Ben, feel free to head over there and reach out to him. Dr. Ben's also a PhD grad over at UT. Hook 'em horns, baby. I'm in Austin now too. So I've given up my Boston College, UMass alma mater. Now I'm UT Longhorns, baby. So congrats on that. Excited to chat.
Yeah, I miss Austin. It's an amazing city for sure.
It is. And I know you used to work with a lot of athletes. Were you working with the UT athletes here as well, and the football players and such? And
I worked under Todd Wright in basketball. Yeah. So and now he's with the Philadelphia 76ers. So I consult with a couple pro teams, but I primarily work with males and athletes.
So tell me a little bit more about that. Like, what are some of the low-hanging fruits? I mean, maybe we don't have a lot of professional athletes listening here today, but what are some of the low-hanging fruits that are, average people that are listening can take and apply to themselves to make them better athletically?
Well, I think a lot of times we put professional athletes on a pedestal.
Yeah.
But most of the time, professional athletes are they're successful in spite of what they do, not because of what they do. So it's probably not best to look at what they're doing. There's obviously exceptions to every rule. There's some teams that are really pushing the envelope as far as nutrition, but you got to think in the pro circumstance, there's not a ton of motivation and drive to get guys healthy if it doesn't get them performing.
Right.
So kind of the sell there is Dr. Bubbs is really good about this, is you're selling longevity.
Yeah.
Because after someone's 30, can you give them 10 years in the league, right? And that's pretty important. And so if we take this to the weekend warrior or someone who just loves to train like me, I'm not a professional athlete. I played college baseball, but after that, like the dream was dead.
Yeah.
And so we really got to, I think the low hanging fruit is the fundamentals, the things that we always talk about, because most athletes, they overtrain because they under recover.
Totally. Now, on the diet side, that's probably a foundational, I think you'll agree to. So on the diet side, are you kind of following a paleo template? What does the food quality, what does the macros look like with an athlete like that?
So when I lecture on or talk about nutrition, I always talk about three things. So we have quality is the first thing for me. Quality is super important. Then we have quantity, and then we have timing. And those are kind of, for me, those are in the order of importance. But we have to be really careful. Like take a guy like Michael Phelps, who probably ate 6,000 to 8,000 calories a day.
Yeah.
You obviously can't eat Brussels sprouts and sweet potatoes and get that done.
Right.
So when you have someone who's just training 20 hours a week, your quality has to drop, and you have to make sure digestion's on point as well. Because otherwise you got to just stop, put the car in the garage, and really kind of figure it out. And so we're at a really cool point where I think we have some technology coming out where we can just individualize. So all this hypothetical best way shit can just go away.
Totally. So we got the basically high quality proteins, high quality fats. You're probably, maybe these guys are going to be higher on the macronutrients for the carbs and such, correct?
That all depends. So the carb world is really I think of carbs as NOS. And so if you want somebody to go fast, you need carbs and glycogen in the system.
Totally.
And so you can't fuel high intensity exercise on fat. Right. We know that if you're fat adapted, you're actually metabolically inflexible, so that you can't burn carbohydrates at those faster intensities. So for me, it's all about, what is this athlete doing? Well, if they're a 40-year-old strength athlete and they're 20 pounds overweight, I'm going to stay in like the 5 rep range, probably knock down carbs pretty low. Are they a 20-year-old athlete who never had any problem with weight, and I got their blood sugar and all looks fine? How many carbs can you take, right?
Got it. Okay. All right, got it. So we have kind of the macronutrients. We're obviously cutting out. Organic's going to be obviously dialed in, right? Food quality is going to be dialed in. We're eating enough calories. That's big. We're making sure the HCl and the enzymes are up to snuff, so we can actually break down and digest those foods. We're making sure we're drinking. We're sleeping maybe 8 to 10 hours. That could be a big thing as well. More exercise, more muscle breakdown requires more recovery. I think it was Steve Nash, Tom Brady too. I mean, they get like 10 hours sleep a night. I think that's the biggest thing. Huge.
Number one, like if you want to increase performance, like this is out of Stanford, like sleep more, spend more time in bed.
Yeah, I mean, you get to bed between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. and you're asleep during that cycle. You're getting access to maybe $3,000 to $5,000 of growth hormone a month just by getting to bed during those time frames. Would you agree?
Yeah, and I mean, testosterone is also secreted. GnRH works inside that time block too. So it's a circadian rhythm hormone. So you start jacking up your circadian rhythms, and one of the problems with the college athletes we see is that they're just hooked up to cell phones all the time, like, and just this perpetual, Twitter, Facebook, social media feed, and man, that's a whole nother ball of wax.
Yeah, totally. So you get the nutrients, you get the digestion, you get the right amount of exercise. I think that's a really key thing, because a lot of times it's train, not drain. And do you see a lot of overtraining with your athletes?
Well, I think we have to be this. I'm come from a strength coach background, so in the college setting, the strength coach it's unfortunate, and you even saw it at the University of Oregon when they got rid of Radcliffe, who was the man. And then they brought in this other guy, and he started smoking people, and he put 3 guys in the hospital. So the strength and conditioning coach it's sometimes they're thought of as like the punisher, so they have to dole out like someone doesn't show up to practice. And so if you're in a team sport atmosphere, like you don't have that much control over their overall load. There's some people that are using like Zephyr and some really cool GPS programs to like measure overall load.
Yeah.
But some of that's outside of your control.
Yeah.
The cool thing in the general population, and if why I like private, is because you can have total control over the athlete.
Yeah.
And like one of my favorite examples is Rutherford, who like he was like the 200th best in the world. And now when he was training like prototypical, like 4 days a week, and they brought him to like 1-2 hard training sessions every 10 days, and he won the gold medal. Right. So it's kind of, it's like everybody's individual, and if we can individualize that protocol, and volume's a hammer, right? And so that's not the thing sometimes that we want to use all the time. That makes sense?
Right, that totally makes sense. So when you're exercising these guys, are the movement patterns going to be standard from each person, like the functional ones, like squats, deadlifts, lunges, step-ups, like core pushing and pulling movements? How do you adjust those and tweak those with the sports, with the athletes?
So that's going to be all dependent on the sport, right? And the position that they play. So if you got a baseball player, like it's all rotary power, right? It's probably getting them at least out of their right side if they're right-handed, getting them kind of even them out so they don't get injured from a PRI standpoint.
Right.
It's so variable. I think for it's also going to depend, like is weight room strength really doesn't apply unless like you're a fullback or a lineman. Sometimes the best guys in the weight room are the worst guys on the field.
Right.
And so we have CrossFit now. I think that's that's really cool, and that now the weight room is the sport. And so it's the open right now, and we can dog CrossFit as much as we want. But I think it's just produced some people that can take insane amounts of volume. And not everybody can, and it's a very Spartan type society.
Oh, totally. Now, when you're working out with someone, is there a certain heart rate that you want people to get back down to? Maybe with your adrenal dysfunctional patients, is there a certain heart rate you want them to get back down to before they go into the next set?
I'm kind of the thought process that heart rate isn't our best. It's an okay marker. Okay. There's some new technology that we're using called Moxie, which is essentially muscle oxygenation. So we want to see that muscle it's resaturated with oxygen, O2. Yeah. And it's probably not affordable for just the average person right now, but it'll get more affordable. And it'll get more usable. Right now, it's not that user friendly. I think you probably want to get back to a good resting heart rate. Also, the research is pretty clear cut. If you're chasing hypertrophy, that 2 to 3 minute window of rest is probably where you want to be. 2
to 3 minutes. Got it. And are you looking at free cortisol free testosterone to cortisol ratio to assess overtraining in any of your athletes?
So I look at total testosterone. I don't pull this is my personal opinion. Yep. I've done a lot of research on salivary panels, and I don't like cortisol panels because they've done 30 days of salivary tests, and they're super variable, especially in athletes. So I don't, if I could get a week of them, I would use them. But if I can only get one day, I don't want to live and die by that one day. You can ask questions, probably the best indicator of overtraining is hey, how are you performing? How do you feel? What's your mood like? So a lot of times we can get really good information just by asking questions.
Got it. And what's your total cortisol cutoff? Your total testosterone cutoff that you like? 800 above?
Yeah, the research is, I don't like the whole bench press number of testosterone, right? I think it's only looking at production. We don't know the sensitivity to the androgen receptor. We can get sexual hormone binding globulin and albumin.
Totally.
We can get free testosterone, but the mental strain of that for a guy is hey, you're inadequate. You have a testosterone of 530. I don't like to do that.
Do you see correlations, though? Do you see hey, these are the athletes that are responding the best, that are recovering the best, they're getting the best results. Here's where their numbers are at. Do you see any correlation there?
Yeah, I think we can't really make that correlation inside of physiological ranges. We don't have a lot of data on that as far as research. Anything I would say would be anecdotal there. Do I have a hunch that it's better to be at 800 than 380?
Yeah. Totally.
Do I know if 800 is better than 600 or 500? I don't know. I haven't seen that. I've seen some beasts that are in the 500 range, 10% body fat, 210, there's front squatting 400 pounds.
Testosterone can be really variable. I think it peaks more in the AM, right? And it can drop down in the afternoon. It can be variable. So you may just catch it at the wrong window.
Yeah, and if someone's circadian rhythms are screwed up, you have no idea what you're measuring. So to me, it's the lab values are not the person. So I always want to who is this person?
Totally, yeah. You got to look at the clinical outcome along with the objective lab values. Totally makes sense. Are you doing any adrenal testing with your regular functional medicine patients?
I don't do a lot of adrenal testing. You interviewed Dukowski, and he has kind of one of my favorite sayings, 99% of new age primates are cortisol resistant or have cortisol dysregulation. So to me, it's why do I want to measure chaos? I'm a big fan of not measuring chaos. And that's just my viewpoint. So I would be apt to use I would use it later. So if you're sleeping, if you're doing all the things that you need to do, then I'll run that if we're still not getting what we need to do. But the other way you can kind of frame it too is, well, if I put this, I try to make it as least financially kind of.
Yeah. You're trying to make it the buy-in financially as low as possible so you can help more people, right?
Yeah. But from a testing standpoint, so if they don't care about money, I'm get this test. Because then if I show them, right, then they're going to have buy-in, right?
Maybe. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, my lever is going to be higher. Okay, your free cortisol is jacked. You have no DHEA. Start to do the shit that you need to do, right?
Exactly.
But if I can get that from other means, if I can get them dialing in the fundamentals and doing all the things that they need to do, because nobody in the general population is doing that. It's low. It's very low.
Exactly. So looking at the palette of tests, functional medicine tests that you're using with your patients, with your athletes. What are those top tests?
My top two are definitely just a comprehensive blood panel and then a CSA.
Stool analysis.
Yeah. And if that doesn't pop and they still have, maybe I'll grab a SIBO breath test or something like that. If they're carb intolerant but we gotta fix the digestive component. And obviously you don't fix that without fixing the cortisol component, but that's what I do. And then I'll run a precision analytics sometimes.
Yep. Okay. So you will do one of the dried urine testing for the adrenals and the rhythm sometimes. Okay, good. Yeah. I do those tests as well. I think they're good.
I want to see, so a lot of functional med, I think we can get in trouble because I'm a PhD, so I'm very research oriented.
Yeah.
So if a test doesn't have a ton of research behind it, I'm not very apt to use it.
Totally.
And that can be good and bad. But I think 5 years down the road, is that lab going to run duplicates for 30 days? Are they going to just do everything in their power to validate that measurement? Or are they just going to say, this is it, this works? And that's what I want to see.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. And BioHealth's got a new one out called the CAR. It's the adaptive response, and they're doing cortisol, I think, 3 times in the morning. And it's interesting because you do cortisol right away, you do it an hour later, you do it 2 hours later, and you see a major change in just that first 2 hours. So I think people are really getting more stringent on when you do cortisol, especially in the AM, which is helpful.
Yeah, our lab at UT actually did a bunch of stuff on the cortisol awakening response, which is huge, right? You lose that, a lot of things go as well.
Yeah, I totally agree. Now, looking at growth hormone, how does growth hormone interplay? It kind of potentiates the effects on testosterone. How does growth hormone interplay? I know it's got the IGF-1, goes to the liver. How does that affect testosterone and basically helping you put on more muscle?
Shit, that's so.
I know it's a loaded one.
Testosterone's going to feed into IGF, right? So a lot of times, and we can get the liver. Obviously, you want it to work. Growth hormone is going to be secreted at night, and then if the liver's clogged, it's not going to make IGF. To me, we can, from an IGF perspective. I'm not super well versed in IGF because I work with a lot of young athletes, and I don't think we're going to have a lot of IGF problem like IGF-1. Never seen. I used to measure IGF-1 all the time, and everybody was kind of in range, so I stopped running it.
Yeah.
And that's just my take. Now, could they benefit from growth hormone? Probably, right? But we also have to be careful with that because IGF-1 is a growth factor.
Yeah, it causes cancer.
Yeah. Well, the research on that's kind of another thing. HGH is not related to increased cancer risk, but I think the evidence is there to just be a little bit caution, just especially if you have a lot of cancer in your family.
Yeah, totally. So basically, the big things to increase testosterone: sleep, protein adequate protein, I imagine, right? The right amount of stimulus, and then how about the timing of the nutrition? Where does the timing come in to really potentiate testosterone and growth hormone?
I don't know if we have a lot of research on that. Like acute feeding of either fat or carbohydrates will actually lower testosterone, especially in the fasted state. So to me, the bang for the buck there is probably from an under recovery mechanism. So if you just crashed your glycogen stores, you probably want to refuel them. And we know the biggest thing is going to be total energy intake. You drop your total energy intake by 15%, you're going to lose T3, you're going to lose testosterone. So if someone's training hard, they need to, in my mind, if they don't have a body comp issue and they're training hard, they need to eat as many calories as they can to maintain their weight.
So when you see these guys in the NFL, for instance, let's say a linebacker that needs to be big, strong, but relatively lean and fast, is it really just the quality of nutrients and then getting enough of it? I mean, these guys literally eating 2,000 to 3,000 calories more than what they would need just at that height and weight to keep that kind of mass on?
Yeah, in season, you're gonna see insane amounts of calories going down their mouth. And they have to. They're that active. They're you have a 230, 250 pound man running around. They need a ton of food, 3,000 to 5,000 calories easy. And so you got to be careful because that's hard to get, and that's why we can get into trouble with intermittent fasting with athletes.
Yeah. And
Paul Quinn's very, very against intermittent fasting with athletes, and I'm in the same camp. Body composition is completely different, health is completely different, but I think especially in season, if you have an athlete that you got to make sure that you get them food.
Totally. And then what's your take on just steroids in general, using steroids and or using insulin as well? What's your take on that?
This is awesome.
Let's do it.
From a TRT perspective, I think and just a lot like marijuana, and I'm not saying marijuana is bad or good. I think nothing is bad or good, right? It is all context dependent. I think we've had the veil dropped over our eyes as far as testosterone the same way. Mm-hmm. And everybody thinks of testosterone as very negative because of baseball, right?
Yeah.
Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa.
Yeah.
But overall, the evidence for testosterone replacement therapy is overwhelmingly positive. Overwhelmingly so. Now, we don't want the same thing. We don't want to just slap that on every guy. We want to make sure we want to use all these lifestyle strategies first, but traumatic brain injuries, right? We know that's going to affect the hypogonadal testicular axis. And also blunt trauma to the testicles. My best friend played collegiate lacrosse, D1 collegiate lacrosse. He got hit with a 110-mile lacrosse ball in the nuts. He had 3 concussions, right? So is that guy...
Oh, man.
Is that guy going to be able to produce his own testosterone, right? And that's not that abnormal. Like,
right.
You talk to a lot of professional athletes, like, how many concussions you have? I don't know, right? Especially in contact sports. Ask an MMA guy.
That's crazy. And then also just the xenoestrogen exposure is going to disrupt LH, luteinizing hormone feedback loops too, right? So we're bombarded with the xenoestrogens if you're a female, obviously just, in birth control pills will screw up the females as well, but you have it in the water, you have it in the pesticides, and you have it in the plastics as well. Yeah,
this is something like male health. This is why I feel so strongly about male health, is because we have no idea what's going to happen, right? Babies, their PON1s are not very active, and PON1 is that enzyme that gets rid of persistent organic pollutants, right?
Totally, yeah.
And so we got 30 of the top 37 pesticides that are used in our food are anti-androgenic. Yeah. So we have no idea what's going to happen, right? And so they only run tests on one of them. They don't run on all of them. It's very scary. And from my perspective, you have to do everything in your power to eliminate all of those potential pollutants, right? Skincare products, everything. So we got to get kind of weird. And you don't know if that's going to have an effect, but you have to make sure especially babies, like we cannot put that on. Look at the male population that's growing up today. Like it's pretty scary.
Oh, especially if you can't breastfeed your child and you're feeding them soy protein isolate. My God, the phytoestrogen content that you're getting in that, I've read it's up to potentially a birth control pill in amount, especially if that's all they're relying on for the first 6 months to a year.
Yeah, it's wild, man. Like it's gonna be really, really interesting to see what happens in 30 years. Like when this generation gets to like their 20s and 30s and 40s, it's gonna be wild.
Absolutely. I have some people here in Austin. They're doing some lawn care in my lawn, and I'm researching a couple of companies that are using like more essential oils and more natural compounds, and we're using like diatomaceous earth to treat the fire ants, and we're using boric acid for natural things, and peppermint oil for the hornets, and vinegar for different things. So we're trying to limit our load naturally, but I see people everywhere else. They're putting lots of chemicals out there. Are you familiar with the research on lawn care products and like childhood lymphomas and leukemias and such?
No, I haven't. I haven't looked at a lot of that research because that's not in my wheelhouse. But
got it.
If you look at people just eating organic versus non-organic produce, like if you eat organic produce, you have higher sperm counts. Your sperm is better. It's clear. It's Harvard. Those are studies out of Harvard Med.
Yeah, I totally get that one for sure. That makes a ton of sense. I'll plug the documentary too, The Disappearing Male. Yeah, excellent PBS documentary that talks about basically all of these estrogenic compounds in the environment are hurting men and our future babies. So keep that in mind too. That's really good.
You can kind of educate me on this, but I would think all of those are going to be mitochondrial toxin based, right? If you jack up the mitochondria, you're going to have trouble with cancer.
Oh, absolutely. You're going to have issues with cancer. There's a great book. It's called Tripping Over the Truth. That's a really good book on cancer and the connection with the mitochondria. That's a really, really good one. And then also just the fact of it affecting the HPT axis, because you screw up LH, you screw up the pineal gland, that affects melatonin, that affects puberty, all these things. It antagonizes itself. And then the more fat cells you have, the more estrogen it produces. Then it's a downward cycle. The more insulin resistant you come, and it's just this downward cascade, this metabolic accident, so to speak.
Yeah, it just loops everywhere. And then you got to figure out how you're going to break those loops. And that's the thing. Like some guy, they have like 25 loops running, and you just want to give them testosterone. Like that's not going to fix the problem. You're not helping anyone.
Yeah. And what about things like anabolic steroids, the more synthetic ones, D-ball and such?
Yeah, I don't use those. I have clients who do.
What's your take on that?
I don't manage any of that. What I want to do is I just want to make sure that that's their choice, right? So I always, as just a male in general and as a clinician, I don't ever want to change someone's goals. I just want to help them do what they do better. And so if you want to be a pro bodybuilder, you're going to have to play in that realm. Now, I'm not the guy to run your anabolic regimen, but I can at least see like what's going on. Are you able to get rid of it? What's your liver doing? How's your hematocrit? Can manage all the things that could go wrong in that situation. The research on that is I think one thing I would like to highlight. So they've done studies where they give like guys 600 milligrams of test.
Yeah. And
the average bodybuilder dose is like 1,100, right? And so they give these guys 600 milligrams of test, and then in 12 weeks, they gave 20 pounds of muscle without an exercising regimen.
Whoa.
Yeah. So
That's
you
insane.
think about like Instagram phenoms, like you got a lot of males that I think are chasing things that aren't physiologically possible. And that's in these. Yeah, go ahead.
So you mean like the people that you're seeing online, they're doing those things that you mentioned, the 600 milligrams of test, and they're just getting massive amounts of muscle that you may not be able to achieve naturally. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, the FFMI is so it's a calculation that you can do, and anything above 25 it's kind of, then you start asking questions. Like my FFMI is like 24, right? And I'm 190, 185, 190, and anywhere from 8 to 11% body fat, maybe a little bit more if I'm off my game. And so there's kind of a line in the sand that we can cross naturally. And obviously there's going to be people that are probably above that just from a statistical perspective. Yeah. But if someone just looks ungodly jacked, I mean, maybe who am I to say what they're doing? And I don't want to be the guy that's the ultimate whistleblower. Yeah. But I think we just gotta, when you look at everyone else's highlight reel, you're going to start questioning your own self-worth. And I don't know that you want to do that.
Totally. And what do you think about tendon growth when you're on hormones like that? Let's say, I know more with the artificial, but in general, do you get the compensatory growth in the tendons to support the increase in muscle mass?
Yeah, so that's one of the problems, right? Is so you think about how the body responds, like to the first thing that we're going to have is neural, right?
Totally.
You can get that in hours, minutes. And then the second response is muscular. So that's going to take, 8 weeks, maybe less if you've never looked at it. But that collagen response, that, building up the fascia, building up all the tissue in the bones, that takes the longest time. So when you take shortcuts, if I put 20 pounds of muscle on you and I haven't built up the structure, that's when like bicep tears don't happen. Like you see a bicep tear on a deadlift, like, I'm thinking, what's going on?
Yeah, totally. So
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that totally makes sense. So something you're careful of. And are you increasing collagen supplementation to help provide extra tendinous building blocks too?
Well, everybody's pretty much using collagen protein.
Great, so you are doing that.
Yeah, especially in the beginning, I take everybody off whey for 30 days just because it's a common allergen, and then if they can handle it, I want it back in. But yeah, I would say that's kind of a non-issue for me.
So will you sub out like the whey for like a high quality hypoallergenic pea protein in the meantime?
No, I'll use
beef.
Yeah, I think if you take enough pure paleo, I think you're going to be fine on the leucine content.
Got it.
That's like a 3 gram threshold. And so, yeah, it's less than whey, but if you take 30, 40 grams of it, you're going to be fine.
Nice. Awesome. Well, I know you post a lot on Facebook. You got a home gym. You're down in Costa Rica now. You moved from Austin down there. So you got a pretty awesome lifestyle going. Give me a quick walkthrough in the day of the life of Dr. Ben House. What time do you get up? What do your meals look like? What do your workouts look like? What does post and pre-workout nutrition look like? What does sleep look like?
Yeah, that's fun. So my days are, I wake up. One of the cool things of why we wanted to move here is living closer to the equator. So I go to bed like 8:30, can't keep my eyes open. And then I'm up naturally, like you talked about cortisol awakening response, like I can't sleep past 5:30. So I wake up and then I immediately sit, right? So I meditate for 15 minutes, done that for years.
Great.
Never will stop, right? That's kind of
any kind of meditation, just kind of like a blank slate in the head and you breathing, or?
I'll use mantra practice. Sometimes my dad is a Zen teacher. He's an ordained Zen priest.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. So, and I took my, whatever you want. I got involved when I was about 19. Probably the best gift that I was ever given was that, to be able to come to that mindfulness practice so early.
That's great.
And so I'll do some counting. Sometimes I'll do a Tibetan practice, which is like, it's one of my favorites, where you wish someone well that you love, right? And then the next breath, you wish someone well that you're kind of apathetic about, maybe someone that you don't know very well. And the last, you wish someone well that you hate or that you don't really like.
Yeah.
And it kind of, it really helps you. And then by the end, you're kind of like, man, I don't have that many people that I don't like. And why don't I like them? It becomes mostly probably, you start to look inward about that. That's one of my favorites.
Love it. That's great. So morning routine, you're getting up 5:30, you do your meditation, 15 minutes. What's next?
So if it's a training day, I'm probably going to have some type of easily digestible carbohydrates, and then I train in the morning because it's hot here. Also, I train I like to smash myself. I'm a meathead by there's no way around it. Like I'm going to be that guy probably, even if it kills me. And so I'm working that glycolytic high intensity pathway 3 times a week. In my youth, I did it probably a bit too much.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I'll do that, and then I'll work for about 2 hours in the morning, depending on what I got. I usually don't take clients until the afternoon, and then I'll train. Or if it's a non-training day, I'm just working. And then right now we're building a retreat center, so I have a lot of things that I'm essentially a general contractor there. So half my days in Spanish, the other half's in English. So sometimes I have to run up there and do stuff. But
nice.
I spend 4 hours at least a day on PubMed and researching and writing. That's my thing. I love it. And then
you have awesome Facebook post too. I appreciate it. You really condense a lot of the research down. It's really nice.
Yeah, I think that's how we move people, right? We just consistently hit them. And you do it with the podcast. Like, hey, this is even if it's repetitive information, like if it produces an action, that's what I'm all about.
Totally. Got it. So PubMed, 4 hours a day. That's awesome. And then you got patience. And then what's next after that?
I try to stop working. I think a lot of us who are super passionate about our craft, I'm better about that when like something isn't coming. Like I have a big presentations coming up in a month. So now I'm always prepping for that. Those are kind of always in my mind. So I use a lot of heart math to kind of like turn myself down.
Yep.
And I try to shut it down in the evenings, definitely by 5 or 6. And then I'll just do fun stuff with my wife, right? Maybe I'll read something like super unscience-y. Maybe we'll just watch a movie. I tend to push for comedies. She tends to push for dramas, but, and I always make sure one thing I'm really, really like big on is you have a treadmill desk. It's just baseline level of movement. Like
huge.
We put all this pressure on exercise, and it's such a small bucket as far as like movement. Like NEAT is where it's at, non-exercise activity thermogenesis. And so if someone's not getting 10,000 steps in a day, like all their caloric intake is going to be dysregulated. They're not going to be able to sleep. So many good things happen when people just move.
Oh, I agree. I mean, I just got seeing patients yesterday. I got 25,000 steps yesterday. I mean, I walk about 10 miles a day. I'm on my my Fitness Pal right here, and I'm like, how there's a leaderboard section. And I'm always I always try to be like number one. So there's yesterday right there, 21.5. So super. I love it,
man. You're living it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And then the key thing is too, I try to have my kettlebells down over here and then some push-up bars. So I'll try to rep some of that stuff out in between patients, even if I can do 2 to 3 minutes and like 5 or 6 times a day. It just kind of keeps the metabolism up.
Sounds good. I train so hard that you can. I mean,
Yeah, I get it. I get it.
I'm not doing pull-ups.
You're done. You're done after that. You're tapped, man. Absolutely. Yeah. So right now we have a lot of listeners that may not be at that professional level, right? Frankly, they want to be healthy, they want to be energized, they want to have good relationships, and frankly, I think Poliquin says it, they want to look good naked, right?
Yeah,
so what are those?
Yeah.
So what are the top 5 movement patterns those people should be doing? And then maybe you want to differentiate men and women, so in case there's something different there.
So I would say, first of all, like just how people are going to come see us for a lot of like this metabolic stuff and everything that we do from Functional Men. See somebody who's good at movement.
Yeah.
Like if you've been at a desk your whole life and you can't take an exhalation, like you probably shouldn't be deadlifting. Like you're stuck in the state of extension. Like I don't know are you really going to even activate your hamstrings? I have no idea, right? Yeah. Especially remotely. So I think we want to be able to we have to be able to use the big guns. You got to be able to, hamstrings, quads, back, chest, right? And so you're gonna want to squat, you want to deadlift, you want to bench press, you want to military press, but it's always risk versus reward. So the risk of any time you're strapping somebody bilateral, 2 hands on a bar, is higher than if you put them single limb, 1 arm weighted, right, or 1 leg weighted. And so for me, it's all about like how do we individualize this to the person. And if you don't individualize this, what we've seen is, so one of my good friends, and we had a business together in Austin. His name's Aaron Davis. He's like the most unknown exercise scientist, and it's like purposely so. He's like a hermit, and he's insane, right? And so he straps up all these gadgets to this dude, and he just measures him bench pressing. And he's like, what the hell? Your chest doesn't even turn on, right? And so he can't even, on a barbell bench press, he can't even get the guy's chest to turn on because of his positioning. Gives him a dumbbell, boom, he can get pec activation. So I think it's really important that you see somebody who's good at movement evaluation so you can look at your position, right? Because muscles are slaves to position. So if you're out of position, what are you going to do? And I think there's DNS, PRI, there's a lot of, and FRC, there's a lot of things that are looking at that now. And there's a lot of people who are really good at it. And so see them, pay them for their time. In Austin, there's a guy named Steve Cuddy who's amazing. Yeah. Aaron Davis and Pat Estes are obviously really good. And Dave Roscoe is down in San Marcos, who's awesome as well.
That's great. So what are those top 5 movements?
You tell me what's going to activate the biggest muscle groups.
So for me off the bat, it's going to be deadlift, because that's one of the only ones that connects upper body and lower body, but actually doing it correct form, really activating the lats, locking them down. Number 2 would be squat. I want to get your take on front squat or back squat though. I would do, but I'm a big fan of unilateral single leg like deadlift movements. I like those with cables. Big Paul Chek fan with that. I would say step ups and or lunges. And then after that, I mean, if I'm doing a movement, I would want to do something that has explosion. So I would want to do either snatches or cleans or sprints.
Yeah, I would pick like maybe one of those. That's good. It was great. It was great.
I want your take. Let me hear
it. Yeah. So you got it. Upper body pulling is like super impressive. You gotta have one of those in there.
Yep.
So whether that's probably a lat pull down, maybe a pull up if you can do it right.
So all right, got it.
If it depends. If someone's goal is just health, probably most people's goal is hypertrophy.
Yeah.
So in my mind, they need to get really, really, really good at the fundamentals.
Okay.
Like, variety may not be your best friend. You may need some of it just to keep you in the game, but you got to be. I would probably use a trap bar. It's safer for the general population. You can load it up. It's going to be more quad dom. From the deadlift perspective. Yeah. I think it's great, but if you've been a gymnast or if your hamstring length is really, really long, if someone can palm the floor, I'm not going to throw a deadlift at somebody right there.
Okay.
I'm going to use maybe a Bulgarian split squat, which is probably my favorite exercise for the general population. Really good at activating the hamstring. From a front squat, back squat perspective, their muscle activation is fairly similar. I would probably lean in the general population more towards the front squat because you're gonna have more anterior core. You're gonna have to stabilize, right? And also if like you can't do it, you drop it, right? Whereas the back squat, you can get it up.
Overpower it for sure.
Yeah, you might be able to hurt yourself. I mean, so those are my viewpoints. And granted, I use, I think speed and doing things that people love is really important. So if you know how to Olympic lift and you like to snatch, you like to clean, obviously I love those things. But if you don't like to Olympic lift, there's a lot of like sprinting is a great way, but even jumping, there's a lot of other things that you can do to kind of get that fast twitch movement going.
Do you do any single leg stuff?
Yeah, you can do single leg hops. You can do, whatever. You can I do a ton, and so I do myself in all my single leg and kind of that preparatory stuff. That's in my warm up and my cool down. So that never leaves, right? I'm doing a lot of like prehab, rehab stuff, but my meat and potatoes is my meat and potatoes. And so I think we can't lose sight of that. But if someone's never trained in their life, their entire workout might be prehab, rehab.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
Makes sense?
Yeah, totally. Now, you're reading lots of studies. You're spending 4 hours a day on PubMed. What are the key things that you look at in the study so you don't get tripped up by, because sometimes the conclusion may not match what the actual study was done. So I know we don't have an example here, but what are the key things people should be highlighting or looking at when they're reviewing a study?
That's a phenomenal question. So at UT, it was kind of burned into us in the PhD program really, really early. So the first thing you look at is the charts. Like you go straight to the figures. And you look at the figures, and then you kind of look at the stats section. You figure out, and this is from a research perspective. Yeah. Then you look at the stats section. Then you look at the subjects, and then you start digging into to everything that's going on, the method section, before you look at the conclusion. And maybe sometimes I'll buzz through abstracts to see what I want to read. I'll definitely do that. Yeah. But the problem is most people, even myself, being out of grad school for a year and a half, 2 years. I don't like looking at a ton of stats research. So like microbiome data is probably the best example here. Like our lab ran a ton of microbiome data. Like we got stool samples on people, right? We sent that out we had to send it out to another lab. And that guy did all the analysis, all the genetic analysis on their poop. Yeah. And then that guy couldn't even analyze the data. So he had to send it to a statistician to analyze the data so that we could think about it. So think about all that. Like that is now you're asking the general population. You're asking the general population to look at some kind of general linearized cluster analysis, which I don't even know what it is, right? And so they're gonna you're reliant, and so they have to make that into a digestible and takeaway. And so there's a lot of reliance on science. But I'd say if you see a study, and this is kind of something that we can talk about. You see a study that's running like 20 paired t-tests, I'm immediately like, what the hell are they doing? Like, you can't run so you have this 95% or 0.05 alpha. Yeah. So in order for something to be statistically significant, it has to only happen 5% of the time, essentially. Right. And so if you run 20 tests, one of those is going to pop just from a statistical standpoint. So you got to be careful with that. So in that situation, I'm looking for like a MANOVA instead of an ANOVA. Yeah. So if you see kind of like these fishing explorations, which you'll see a lot, you just see like the smorgasbord of data. Be careful with that. And so because that's one of my favorite things to pick apart.
Anything else? So let's summarize that. So you like the MANOVA, you look at the P score, right? The 0.05. You're looking at that as well.
Yeah.
You're looking at the graphs. Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry to cut you off. So we want to make sure that something can be statistically significant but meaningless. Mm-hmm. So if it's like, say you have like a 0.1 rise in testosterone, but it's at the 0.001 level, okay, you have a statistically significant finding, but it's clinically meaningless. Right. So we got to make sure that their finding is actually mean something.
Totally. Awesome. So that's helpful. Anything else you want to add on that?
Yeah, I think that Alan Aragon, the best way to learn about research is to read other people's critiques of research. And Alan Aragon has his research review, and it's a steal. It's $10, and you get 8 years of monthly research reviews. So if you want to get good at reviewing research, the best way is to just read it.
Yeah, totally makes sense. Now, you mentioned back earlier that you're looking at a lot of blood patterns. What are the big patterns that you're seeing pop up? Are you looking at thyroid? Are you looking at protein digestion by some of these markers? What are you seeing on blood?
Yeah, so the first rock I'm obviously going to look at is hemoglobin A1C and glucose control. That's not the best measure for an athlete because they're going to dispose of red blood cells faster than the general population. So if you see a high HbA1c in an athlete, you might actually be a little bit more worried. Like maybe like 5.6, you're like, what's going on with you? And then that all goes to context too. Like, are they trying to gain weight? Then they're probably not going to get diabetic if they have a ton of muscle mass.
Yeah.
And so that's all context dependent. And I actually I don't put a lot of weight in like fasting glucose and fasting insulin. You're probably going to see it dysregulated I don't work with a lot of chronic patients. So that C-peptide and those measurements fasting can be really good in those kind of patients. Yeah. But when you got a guy who's 6'1", 8% body fat, it's probably not going to tell you much.
No.
And so what I really like to do is I like to use glucometer protocols. And so have people grab
here.
Yeah, just grab it 13 times in a day and see what happens.
Yeah.
And then send me a graph and send me when you eat and let's have a discussion. Because if you eat 3 rice cakes and you go to 200, it's not good. This is not happening. You're spilling glucose in your urine. Like, we don't want that to happen. So that's a way we can kind of tweak carb load. The next thing, obviously you need thyroid support. You need thyroid hormone. It turns on every cell in the human body. So I'm going to drop from there. I'm probably going to drop down to thyroid and just see what's going on there. I mean, I've picked up so many, like Hashimoto's and like a 14-year-old kid, like one of the best pitchers in Texas.
Wow.
And he couldn't recover, right? He's constantly has these stupid injuries. And we grab his lab work and his TPOs are like 300.
Whoa.
And we're like, okay. And he feels better, right? All this, his dad's like, oh, he needs to eat like bread, all this stuff. I'm like, no, he doesn't. Like, and now the kid is taking ownership of it, which is amazing. He's like, no, I'm not going to eat that. And so now he pretty much eats only autoimmune paleo. He'll have some rice. He does okay with rice. And he was overweight and still crushing it, like meanest curveball this side of the Mississippi. And so, but now he looks amazing, right? And if you play at these schools, right, any of these Texas schools, you got to look the part. Like even if you're amazing, you have to look like an animal.
Absolutely.
It's kind of unfortunate.
Yeah, I mean, I have Hashimoto's myself, and I played baseball and sports and football growing up, and I had lots of injuries because I was trying to eat my 11 servings of grains on the food pyramid. So there's a lot of misinformation out there. And again, a lot of people are seriously inflamed, and the more inflamed they are, the more catabolic, the more they can't recover and put on muscle and heal, essentially.
Yeah, to me, it's like, it's all about breaking cycles, right? So my dad has celiac disease. We found out when he was like 40, he had 10 inches of his colon removed, his gallbladder was taken out.
Yikes.
Like that's why I got into this. I was going to go to medical school, and my dad got super screwed up by the conventional medical system. He was on every painkiller known to man. And then I was in Colorado, and breaking the vicious cycle. I read the book, and I was like, hey, Dad, let's try changing your diet. 3 days, symptom free. He'd been struggling like 10 years.
I know. Isn't that crazy? Dude,
Yeah.
I know. I see it every day. We have the most rewarding jobs in the world because when you get someone who's banging your head against that conventional medical wall for 10 years, plus at some point they start throwing it back on you, saying it's in your head, and they start making the psych referrals and writing scripts for Zoloft and such. And then you're just like, my God, but this can't be real. I mean, it's got to be real. So looking where you're at, you mentioned them of the blood markers. Anything else? You've talked about thyroid. Any specific cutoffs that you want to talk about with TSH or T3 or antibody levels?
Yeah. So what I use a software, and so I'm always looking at. You have total T3. I'm always total T4, free T3, free T4, and so I'm always looking at what's going on with that. Are they producing a ton of T4, but then they're not converting any of it to T3?
Right.
Are all their thyroid hormones bound up? Like, are they on? Which is to me, like I see it constantly. If I take on a female client, I'm like, oh, all your thyroid hormones bound up. Are you on birth control? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Like, there it is, right? It upregulates thyroid binding globulin, and then on top of that, one of the ways that we know that testosterone increases lean mass and metabolism is that it downregulates thyroid binding globulin. So
totally, yeah, it makes sense. You see that in PCOS, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So we get the thyroid. What are you looking at for protein digestion? Are you looking at globulin, creatinine, serum protein, albumin? What are you looking
So yeah, I think total protein and globulins are soft markers for it. I always think of them as like check engine lights. They're not like end all be all. Mm-hmm. But if I see them low, I'm like, let's get some more data on that situation. And then kidney markers in athletes, like this is like, oh my God, this is like, I love talking about this because those conventional kidney markers are essentially useless, right? In an athlete, because blood urea nitrogen is the breakdown of protein products. So if you're eating a high protein diet, you've knocked that up. Now, creatinine is an indirect measure of muscle mass. So if I have a jacked gorilla who's eating a ton of protein, he's automatically going to have a GFR that's probably pretty screwed up. But his kidney function may be fine. And so the best marker there is cystatin C. So if someone's super worried about their kidney function, I'll run that because that's not affected by protein intake or muscle mass.
Statin C for the kidney?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah. And I'm not seeing patients that are at the same level of, being an athlete, but I do try to keep them 48 hours away from strenuous workouts so you don't get those false positives.
Yeah, I do that as well. Yeah. But it's all individual. So they've done studies, and it can be 10 days that you'll see like liver enzymes high, bilirubin high. So you can see those things. It's all dependent. Some people get back in 48 hours, and obviously we can't tell people not to train for 10 days. That's not going to work, nor would we want to do that. Right. But I think 48 hours and making sure they're hydrated is really, really solid.
Yeah, and then you think muscle soreness would also be a pretty good subjective indicator? Making sure they're not incredibly sore and like really in pain or hurting from the workout?
Yeah, I think that's probably good from an inflammatory standpoint. Yeah. With CRP, you're gonna see an acute rise with exercise, and then see a positive impact over time. I hate muscle soreness. Like I don't know if we have research to say that. It's such a subjective indicator, and it's so variable.
Got it. Well, is there anything else you want to let the listeners know? Anything else on your hot bucket that you're kind of researching or on top of mind?
Yeah, I think we can get lost in kind of the little things, right? And so I see a lot of people that are, worried about something regarding their health. And that's probably not good. If you're incessantly worrying about your health, like that's a problem, right? So we get a lot of type A people that come to functional med. And so one of our jobs is like, hey, like you're not going to die. This is okay. Like you have a homocysteine of 9. You're not going to keel over tomorrow. There's things that we can do. Let's do all the things. So I'd say focus on the effort and not necessarily always focus on the effort. And that's my biggest thing.
Got it. And who's your ideal patient? Because I know you made this switch from the athletic world to the functional medicine world. Now you have the experience with your dad with the celiac thing, so you have some autoimmune experience. Who's your ideal patient if someone were to come see you?
Yeah, my ideal patient is a male, any age range, but probably a male that just wants to look good, feel good, look good naked, right? That's my prototypical client. And then anyone's free to email me, obviously. And like I get crazy emails like, hey, I have a tumor infringing on my hypothalamus. Can you help me out? And I'm like, no, I can't. But let me refer you out to someone who might be able to reboot your entire endocrine system.
Totally. So functionalmedicinecostarica.com, right?
Yeah.
Love it,
That's
man.
That's the website.
Very cool. Anything else?
No, yeah. Thank you for all that you do, and just putting out that information. I think we all have our mediums, and you do a really good job of just finding awesome people and interviewing them and letting them tell a story. So thank you.
I appreciate that, Dr. Ben. I appreciate it. And the last question for you, if you're on a desert island, you only can choose one supplement, one herb, one nutrient, what is it?
I should. I'm going to pick magnesium.
Magnesium, okay.
Yeah, I'm probably going to, if I don't get a multi, if I'm training on this island, maybe a protein supplement if I can't find enough meat. But definitely. Most athletes are deficient in magnesium. If you give an athlete magnesium and they're deficient, they're going to feel a lot better.
Awesome, my man. Well, thank you for that great feedback. Dr. Ben House in the house. You can see him at functionalmedicinecostarica.com. Dr. Ben, appreciate you being on the show.
Thank you, sir. Have a great day.
You too. Take care.
Got a question for Dr. J? Go to beyondwellnessradio.com and click the questions button. Then tune in to hear the answer. Also, if you like the show, click below to review us on iTunes. For more Beyond Wellness Radio, go to beyondwellnessradio.com.